Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to this week's video chat. Today our discussion revolves around eating out with your children. Sue is asking, how can I make eating out with my 2-year-old enjoyable? I love this question. You know, I would say that it is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when I'm out to eat with my family and I see other children misbehaving, because I think there's always a solution to problems. And, you know, my husband would tease me that I'm fairly judgmental when it comes to certain things. But again, I just think that there's a solution to these problems. And so I'm going to give you a few tips here today for dining out with children. And there was a time, I mean, I have 3 kids and 2 of them are 15 months apart. So I get it. And there was a time in our life where we just thought, we can't ever eat out. It's just too much work. It's not enjoyable. Let's just forget it. But then I started to realize, you know, I enjoy eating out. It's something I really like to do. And I'm not going to put that on hold for the next 5 years until my kids are of a better age where they might be able to cope with this. So my husband and I sat down and thought, okay, well, we need to teach them how to behave in a restaurant. And we have to practice. So once a week we would go out as a family to practice how do you behave in a restaurant. And tip number 1 is to go over the rules. I think sometimes we just assume children know what we expect of them without giving them any kind of an insight into what it is. So when we were in the car, before we would even go into the restaurant, we would go over the rules. What are the rules? You need to sit in your seat. You need to talk with an inside voice. You need to say please and thank you to the waitress. You need to have cooperative behavior. Right? These are the rules. These are the things that need to happen while we're in there. When you get into the restaurant, you need to have some consequences around behavior that is not a part of the rules. So when our kids would stand up, talk loudly, whine, that's a common thing I see in restaurants. 1 warning, consequence. So if you can't sit down in your chair, you will have a timeout. And I cannot tell you, people, how many times my husband or I had to take a child to the car for a timeout in the middle of a meal. But again, if you do the work and you actually follow through and you take them for a timeout, eventually you will have children who know how to behave in a restaurant. And it's not fun when you're going through it and your meal's going to get cold. But if it's important to you and this is something that you want to do as a family, then do the work. I mean, have the consequences, go over the rules, and you can even set up some positive incentives around this. I don't want it to make it sound like, you know, it's going to be a nightmare every time. But we would say to our kids, listen, if you can sit in your chair, say please and thank you, use an inside voice, then you can have a reward after the fact. And for my kids, they're sweet junkies. They love sweets. So it meant that they could have dessert if they had good behavior. So that is a super excellent way to keep this positive. However, if they can't cooperate and they didn't follow the rules, and obviously people know dessert, but now we have enjoyable meals out. Occasionally they need a reminder or 2, and that's fine because you've implemented 1 warning, right? And that is just so important. If it's 1 warning, it can only ever be 1. So the minute you give your warning, behavior is in check because they now know next time I'm going to the car. All right, I hope that helps, and I hope you enjoy your dinners out. Thanks so much. Sleep well.